You're listening to the Vikes Verified Podcast. Hello, Vikings Nation, and welcome back to episode 108 of the Vikes Verified Podcast. We are back in the studio down here in Stillwater at Cub Studios, presented by Pull Tab Sports, and we are going to be breaking down the biggest regular season matchup in Vikings history. Unfortunately, does not go our way, Matt. We take a 31-9 loss in Detroit. Now, we're going to break this one down for you. I believe that this game was closer than the final score intended. You start to break some things down. It just came down to missed opportunities for the Vikings, especially inside the 10-yard line. We've talked about those short yardage issues, and we're going to get into them right now, Matt. But I know it hasn't been a tremendous day for us. You know, so much anticipation leading up to this game. Are you ready to put this one behind us and move on to LA?
I'm already over it. It was a tough night last night and a tough morning, but like you said, we got no time to really hash things out about this. We've got a playoff game on Monday night on the road against the Los Angeles Rams, a team that we have already lost to this season. So all the focus needs to be on getting a win in Los Angeles and coming back at least to Minnesota for another week to get another week under our belts and hopefully have either a rematch with Detroit or potentially go to Philly. Regardless, our efforts need to be really all on Monday night's game and taking care of business. Like you had mentioned, I think the game was closer than the final score showed. At the beginning of the game, the Vikings defense was keeping us in the game. They're making plays. They got a couple third down stops. Ivan Pace gets that interception inside the 10-yard line. But the story of the night was the ineffectiveness in the red zone, and Sam Darnold sailing passes was just something that the Vikings could not overcome. I want to say he was 1 of 11 inside the 20 or inside the 10. Just had multiple plays where he either didn't throw it to the open guy or missed the open guy, most likely sailing a lot of those. So to me, we got to see a better version of Sam Darnold and this offense in terms of putting the ball in the end zone, because I think if we do get one or two of those in the first half, it's a whole different ball game. So shout out to the defense for keeping us into it, but they got gassed, and you could see them wear us down the second half, and that's the result of the game is a 31-9 finish.
Yeah, just really tough timing for Sam Darnold to come out and have his worst game in purple so far. Maybe Jacksonville, but this was probably worse. 18 for 41, 166 yards, and a 43.9% completion percentage. And a guy who has prided himself so much this year on efficiency and being good with his feet, marrying his feet with his throw. And last night, it just looked like he was a little bit gun shy, a little bit scared to pull the trigger in the red zone. The feet got a little bit happy in the pocket. And the result was, like you said, the Detroit Lions taking advantage of it, and Aaron Glenn able to get a ton of pressure on Sam all throughout the game. So a tough one for Sam, but I think, the adrenaline pumping through his veins, his heart was beating a little bit faster in Ford Field, playoff atmosphere. He has not played in a game like that in his NFL career. So hopefully, we can take a taste of what that feels like, bring that to Los Angeles next week for a real playoff atmosphere, and learn from it and just improve. That's all you can hope at this point. So let's break down some individual performances. So I'm going to start and say, I was displeased by the Vikings basically stopping running the football.
Yeah, it made no
we had
sense.
16 total carries from our running backs, and you saw a 58-yard scamper by Cam Akers, his best run of his career, arguably, and that was a huge spark plug play. And then we go away from the run. So Aaron Jones, I believe, 10 carries. Cam Akers, 6 carries. It was working for us. I liked the way we were scheming things up. A couple nice tosses from KOC, some misdirection. He was switching things up in the run game, and it was working early. However, when we got in those short yardage situations on the goal line, watching Sam overthrow Justin Jefferson 3 straight plays was absolutely infuriating for Vikings fans across the country. So just that close. Offensive line had a really rough one as well in this. What's an individual performance that sticks out to you that played a part in costing us this game?
Yeah, you had mentioned the offensive line, a guy in Cam Robinson. I believe he allowed 9 pressures yesterday against the Lions. He has done a great job filling in for Christian Darrisaw and providing some stability there, but the consistency has been an issue. At times he has had a lot of penalties, whether it be a false start, holding. Really, between the penalties and the pressures, he's got to find a more consistent part to his game, because in the playoffs here, we're going to need him, and we can't afford, for him to give up 9 pressures. But in general, this offensive line really had a rough game outside of Brian O'Neill. Brandell, I believe, had 8 pressures. Bradbury with a handful, and all of them graded out pretty roughly in PFF scores. So left side of that line, and Garrett Bradbury has to figure it out going into Los Angeles, because they not only are in the playoffs now, they are going up against a very vaunted front and a young one in the fact of Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Byron Young. They've got an elite 4 set of defensive linemen, and the offensive line is going to have their hands full. So to me, that's a huge area that they have to improve on. And I also would say we got to talk about Will Reichard. Reichard, we've both been big fans of his, still are. But some of the missed kicks lately, especially the timing of it going into playoffs, is not the greatest. Vikings fans know our pain with kickers, and obviously I think that is why people are starting to feel some type of way about him. But what are your thoughts on Will? I think, some of this is just due to the injury that he came back from, and I think he'll be all right. But what are your overall feelings on Will Reichard going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm not losing faith in Will. Seemed like Will was a really stone-cold killer type guy from the start. I do think, however, missing those 4 weeks on IR, watching another guy come in his position and play at a high level, and then all of a sudden you're coming off the injury, a little bit of pressure to maintain his level of play, that being John Parker Romo, obviously on the Patriots practice squad now, but I just think the injury was kind of the breaking point. I mean, I felt like he was kicking the ball really well before, kind of hitting from all over the field. It just doesn't look like he quite has that level of confidence that he did early in the season. Now, I'm confident he can get it back. This is a guy who's been around tremendous coaching and, tremendous mindset type leaders in his career. And Nick Saban, Kevin O'Connell, Matt Daniels, a great special teams coach. So I trust him being able to get his mental back, but I think that's all it is his mental. At this point in time, he doesn't quite have the confidence he did early in the season.
Is there something to be said about, I believe, before the season started, he said if he'd miss a kick, he'd get a haircut.
Yes.
I haven't seen him get a haircut.
He did. He did cut his hair.
He did?
Okay. He takes the helmet off. He did cut his hair. He cut it, I believe, right before he went on IR. But
I feel like if you do that, you got to, I feel like you almost got to, you got to go buzz cut, I think, going into the playoffs.
That is it's supposed to last 14, 15 weeks of flow, right?
I think he needs a new cut going into the playoffs.
How about we see a mohawk going into
the playoffs? We need something different.
Maybe
something,
pull out some gel. Shave the sides.
Go crazy. But something's got to change. That long hair that he's rocking. People are calling him Barstool Sports interns.
He's on a Great Clips ad.
They got to get him something. Yeah. So, all right, here's to Will Reichard. We're putting the message out. Will, go get yourself a cut and get yourself some new energy.
Do something crazy, because we believe in you, Will. You're going to snipe all postseason for us. Another guy I want to touch on, Matt, T.J. Hawkinson. Love TJ Hawkinson. He's a tremendous player.
Back in Detroit.
But, for 4 years, 66 right now. He's a high-end contract of ours on the offensive end.
Need more.
This is a guy who is supposed to thrive in contested catch situations. Last night, he was in Alex Anzalone's lunchbox all night over the middle. TJ Hawkinson, known for the strong hands, the big frame. He just needs to come down with some of those 50-50 balls over the middle. I know that, one bounce doesn't go his way or the defender just happens to be in good position, but you're getting paid to be a top tier offensive guy on our offense, and I hope that TJ Hawkinson can square this away and start to turn up for the playoffs, because he is a guy that is so critical in moving the chains for this offense.
We need him to get going. Just really being frank, he's been good but not good enough, right? He's been a guy that Sam Darnold can kind of check down to, or more of a safety blanket. But what's been more glaring to me is the ineffectiveness or inability to target him in the red zone. A lot of times we're going to Jefferson, Addison, all these different guys, but a guy like Hawkinson should be high up on that list in terms of, let him run a man-on-man route and go win something. So to me, the lack of usage for him in the red zone has been glaring, but then also his, yesterday he had a couple rough drops, for a guy in Hawkinson who's known to kind of come down for those. I'm going to need to see more, and we need more from him in this playoff game on Monday night against Los Angeles, because we're going to need all hands on deck. This offense has got to put up points. 9 points is not going to get it done. We got to convert, get into the end zone. So to me, Hawkinson is a great player, a guy that I want to keep around here for a long time, but I know he's coming off an injury, but we do need an improved performance from him in terms of just kind of taking this offense into that next step.
Taking it personal. This is playoffs. Take it personal. This is your career. This is your job. Go out and play with a chip on your shoulder. That's what I want to see from TJ.
A guy that took it personal, though, is Cam Akers. Mm-hmm. He has came back to this team for the second year and has really been one of the more underrated pieces of this whole team. I think what he was able to do last week against the Green Bay Packers, he scores, he gets that game-sealing catch. Last night he gets that 57-yard run against Detroit. I mean, this guy can really provide some things in the run game and just in terms of injecting some firepower to this offense. And, with Aaron Jones kind of dealing with some lingering issues, he didn't really play the whole game last night. I think he definitely got to have a definitive role for Cam Akers against the Rams, because I do think that he can provide that punch that this offense needs. And like we had talked about before, I hope we do not see us fall away from the run game on Monday night in Los Angeles, because I do think that's something that we need to kind of, lean into.
Yes, I agree with you. And they're going to get Kyron Williams 20-plus carries. They do it every week, so we got to be ready to match that. But I totally agree with you. Cam Akers, does this guy run like a guy who's torn both his Achilles tendons? I would say no. This guy's got fire still. He's only 25 years old. The reps that I saw in Pass Pro last night, too, he is willing to stick his head in there and chip guys coming through the line of scrimmage. He is a physical runner, catches the ball well. I am totally in favor of a 50-50 snap share between Aaron Jones and Cam Akers right now. I think Cam is that important on the field for us right now. I want to get into a little bit more of the red zone talk, Matt, and I'm going to lay a few things out for you. I want your opinion. There have been 1,328 games in the last 5 NFL regular seasons combined. The Vikings last night had the worst red zone success rate of any qualifying team in any game of those last 5 seasons. So let's talk about this. We don't typically go for it on 4th down in the red zone. Do you feel like there was pressure on KOC to maybe match Dan Campbell's mantra in his own building? Typically in Vikings past, we take the points on both of those. It would have helped us, but you still got to score touchdowns to win. Do you think KOC made a little bit of a mistake not taking those points, or do you think that because this game was for the 1 seed, he had the right to be aggressive?
I don't think it was the wrong decision. I do think you're right. I think there was a bit of that Dan Campbell part that led to KOC trying to probably have that feeling in his head of, hey, I got to really match Dan Campbell. I'm going to be aggressive, just as aggressive as him. And to me, I was okay with that, specifically in this game, because we were playing for the 1 seed. We had a spot in the playoffs locked up. It's not like we were, you had to win to get in. So to me, I was more on the aggressive side too. You're leaving it all on the line. I mean, why kick a field goal if you can, we had multiple opportunities. The reality is that you got to convert. The offense has to execute, and we didn't. Just plain and simple. But to me, I was okay with all those aggressive calls because of the situation, the nature of the game, how much was at stake. I mean, I would have loved to take the points. Great. But, it all comes down to really the offense just not being able to convert inside the 20, inside the 10. And at the end of the day, that's what cost us. And, to me, it's something that we have to correct going into next week, because we cannot afford 3 points is not going to win us games in the playoffs. We got to go score touchdowns. So I like where his head's at. The kind of the scenario of the game, I thought, to me, I would have done the same thing, leave everything out there, and unfortunately it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it was not enough. And one thing that wasn't enough was our effort on Jahmyr Gibbs as well. And I will say Jahmyr Gibbs is an electrifying back. I think he is 1A, 1B at this point with Saquon Barkley. That's my personal opinion. But it's tough for me to hate on Jahmyr Gibbs. He secured me 2 fantasy championships this year. So, he's a heck of a player. But I'm saying our inability to contain backs out of the backfield, receiving backs. How many times have you seen that Texas route this year with Jahmyr Gibbs, a little angle route right up the middle? We got cooked on it again last night. I watched them do that to at least 5 teams this year with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's just a guy that is so versatile, and I get that he's hard to stop. But when you have a guy that is their main focal point of this offense, he scores 4 times on 23 carries, and he also mixes in 5 catches. I mean, the guy touching the rock 28 times and 4 TDs. You got to make an adjustment at some point. And it looked like Van Ginkel was about to take him out of the game there, maybe crack a rib or 2 on that hit. Hell of a play from Van Ginkel. But to let a back, kind of single-handedly beat us like that, when Jared Goff throws 2 picks in this game, it's just really tough to stomach.
Yeah, I mean, he's a ball player, but again, I think we got to do a better job containing him. I was not very impressed with some of our safeties coming down and filling some of those gaps, specifically Cam Bynum. He's now had a couple games against the Lions where Jahmyr has gotten into the gap, and isn't able to get it done.
He just doesn't quite have the speed to match him, I don't think.
You got to hit him low and hit him hard, and we weren't able to do that. And as soon as he gets that corner, he's gone. So to me, not having David Montgomery was obviously helpful for this defense, but still was not enough. Letting a guy score 4 times, it reminded me of the Alvin Kamara game when we played the Saints on Christmas. Just unacceptable, sour taste in my mouth, and something that we cannot afford to do really in any game, anytime. So to me, that's got to get buttoned up here. But, with this tough loss here, it's going to be tough to potentially name some Duke Cannon studs. But, Nick, if you had to guess a few or name a few, who would be your Duke Cannon studs and duds of the game?
Yeah, there's still a couple studs and duds in this one. Duke Cannon, are you a hard worker? Then you need a soap that works just as hard as you do. Look no further than Duke Cannon and their seasonal selections, including Trophy Game, Buck Moon, and the ever-popular candy corn. Grab yourself Duke Cannon's big-ass brick of soap today and try it out for yourself. Climb aboard the Duke Cannon train and get the best in men's hair care, beard care, soaps, deodorant, and cologne. Smell like you give a damn with Duke Cannon. Check them out at dukecannon.com. My 2 studs for the game, Matt, are going to be Andrew Van Ginkel and Cam Akers, and I'll explain why. Andrew Van Ginkel, probably the most active player on this Vikings defense, especially last night. We saw the big hit on Jahmyr Gibbs. We saw another almost pick 6. But there's plenty of plays in between there as well where, Andrew Van Ginkel is just a disruptor. I mean, I saw a stat today. He leads the NFL in havoc plays. Havoc plays are a play with a sack, TFL, forced fumble, interception, or pass breakup. Andrew Van Ginkel has 30, TJ Watt 29, Trey Hendrickson 28, Brian Burns 27. Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard just might be the best free agency edge duo in recent NFL history, to be completely honest. Both Pro Bowlers, both casted away by former teams, and they come in and they are absolute game changers for us. And then Cam Akers, my second stud of the game. You heard me talk about him earlier. He's a guy that runs with force. He's a guy that cares. He's a good teammate, catches the ball well out of the backfield, and he'll stick his head in there and pick up anyone in pass pro. Cam Akers is going to be a big part of the Vikings postseason.
Both those guys balled out last night in obviously not an advantageous game. But my 2 studs of the game are going to be on the defensive side, and that starts with Harrison Smith. What a legend, this guy. 37th interception of his career last night. This guy just never stops. Every time people think he's losing a step, he proves them wrong. At the end of the day, this guy just goes about his business and gets it done, and you saw it again last night.
Stands on business.
So shout out to Harry.
Are we getting another year out of him?
I think so. I've been saying I said 2 at the most, but I said for sure 1. So I'm already on that train. So
let's play him into his 40s.
Hitman, if you're listening, we need you back one more.
He's gonna have more INTs than age at this point.
But he's still got it. My other stud of the game is Ivan Pace Jr. He came down with the other interception last night, and he was a very impactful player at the line of scrimmage, trying to chop down Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously was able to get his hands on a ball and get us inside the 10-yard line. So to me, it's so critical for this defense to have him. We saw him make some big plays last night, and it is a damn shame that this Vikings offense could not put 6 on the board after IP did what he did to get us inside the 10. Man, that one stings.
Yeah, that one stings bad. What a player. I mean, what a player he is. We talk about his effectiveness, it feels like, every week, but it felt like they were switching up. They were bringing him off the edge a little bit more last night, not as much through the A-gaps, but I was a little bit displeased by his lack of snaps early. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big Metellus guy. I love Metellus, but you can play Cashman, Metellus, and Pace. We can find ways to get all 3 of them on the field, and I think those are 3 very effective guys at the second level. All right, let's get into these duds, Matt. First and foremost for me is going to be Cam Robinson, left tackle. Nobody's going to replace Christian Darrisaw, but giving up 9 pressures in a game, I don't care who is against, especially backup edge rushers. It's not ideal for Cam Robinson, and it seems like Blake Brandel's play has also plummeted since Christian Darrisaw has been out of the lineup. I call that the Christian Darrisaw effect. He makes, the rest of the line better with how solid he is. And unfortunately, Cam Robinson's not quite Darrisaw, but we need him to be the best version of himself going into playoffs here in LA. My second out of the game is going to be TJ Hawkinson. And, this is just a challenge for TJ Hawkinson. You are a top-tier tight end in the NFL, one of the best. Size, speed, route running, and hands combo. You got it all. Let's elevate Let's elevate that play to where it needs to be this week. Everyone still believes in you. We're going to go out and get a big performance from TJ Hawkinson in LA this week. I feel it.
I like it. Bounce back. My two duds of the game. First one starts with Sam Darnold. I mean, this is an obvious one. 18 of 41 for 160 some yards is just not going to get it done. And so many opportunities for him to kind of put his stamp on this game and just was unable to do it. But short memory, on to the playoffs here. I'm expecting a bounce back for Darnold as well. So hopefully this is a one-off on the duds list. My other dud is going to be Blake Brandel. 8 pressures, like you had mentioned. His play has kind of dropped off from Christian Darrisaw being out. I think that's definitely attributing to some of it. But we need Brandel to get back to kind of where he was the first half of the season and pick up some more of that consistency because that interior needs to be solid, moving forward.
Agree with you. That's going to bring us into our Cub Foods Captain of the Week. Cub Foods, it's officially time for playoff football, and Cub Foods is your go-to grocery and liquor store. Why scurry around town picking up all your game day needs for the squad when you can just go to a one-stop shop? Look no further than Cub to grab your hamburgers, hot dogs, brats, chips, whatever it is you're cooking up for playoff football. Be sure to stop by Cub Liquors on the way out. Grab all the drinks and cocktails that everyone is sure to love. Go to your local Cub on your next shopping trip for all your playoff football essentials. All right, Matt, my Cub Foods Captain of the Week this week. He's wearing the C on his jersey, and that C stands for Cam Akers. Like I said, guy that cares, guy that wants to be in. Every opportunity he gets, it seems like he's taking advantage of it. And when the Vikings needed an explosive play last night, he got it. Wasn't quite able to get into the end zone, unfortunately, because our offense wasn't able to after that for 4 plays. But Cam Akers is a guy that is going to be a big part of this team moving forward, and I know Kevin O'Connell has nothing but great things to say about Cam Akers and his perseverance through those injuries.
Shout out to Cam. My Cub Foods Captain of the Week is Jonathan Bullard, a.k.a. the Trench Bully. This guy got his hands on a ball yesterday, ended up causing a huge 4th down stop for us at a time when we needed it, and I thought he did a good job filling gaps, being physical on the line, and really providing some a stabilizing force in that run game for us. So shout out to Bullard. I thought he did a great job, and I think he's a guy that sometimes gets overlooked, similar to a guy in Jerry Tillery.
Yes.
There are some overlooked guys on this team. Now, before we get into our playoff preview against the Rams here, the Vikes Verified podcast is sponsored by Drip Drop. Are you feeling drained or dehydrated? Get back to your best with Drip Drop Electrolyte Powder, your go-to solution for fast hydration. Packed with 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks, Drip Drop is designed to quickly replenish what you lose during exercise, heat, or illness. So whether you're hitting the gym, tackling a tough day, or recovering from a long night, Drip Drop is here to help you hydrate smarter, faster, and better. Don't let dehydration slow you down. Combat it today with Drip Drop and feel the difference. Go use code PULLTAB for a discount today as well.
Love that. All right, Matt. Moving into the Rams game, we're going to turn the page on Detroit. I hope we see them again in 2 weeks. And for the record, I think that our roster stacks up with Detroit. I think we're every bit as good as they are. There was an execution issue yesterday that would have gave us an early lead, and that is a totally different ball game. Don't like their chances to beat us 3 times in one season if we can get past the LA Rams. Now, the LA Rams are nothing to joke with. Sean McVay, kind of a protege, kind of a mentor for Kevin O'Connell and him getting a head coaching opportunity. Obviously, they won a Super Bowl. They still have Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford on that Super Bowl roster. And Cooper Kupp maybe not as involved in the game plan nowadays, but you know he's available, and he knows how to find soft spots in zones. However, the one threat I am most worried about is an emerging superstar in the NFL. That is Puka Nacua. This guy is an absolute problem, one of the more physical, full combination receivers I've seen. Physicality, speed, catch point, route running. I mean, the guy really doesn't have a deficiency in his game, and that shows week in and week out. Matthew Stafford loves throwing the ball to Puka Nacua, and to be blatantly honest with you, Vikings Nation, I don't know who we have on this roster that can match up with him. We're going to be playing a lot of zone coverage again, and I just worry if we're not able to get pressure on Matthew Stafford early and often in the game, that this could turn into the Nacua show.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a tough guy to stop. They've got a couple different weapons between Nacua, Kupp, Williams. That offense has definitely got some, electricity to it. So we're going to have to do a good job, I think, getting after Stafford, not allowing a lot of time for him to dissect this defense, especially if we're playing zone. A question I have for you, Nick, is as of right now, today, Monday, a week away from the game, going into Los Angeles, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your confidence level for us to go on the road and get a win?
Right now, I'm sitting at about a 7, Matt. And the reason for that is we were obviously in LA for the game. A lot of self-inflicted, I think, wounds in that game, which, after what happened last night, they still tend to show up. But I think that the team responds really well after this win. And I think that this team is going to get a sense of, we didn't come this far just to come this far, if that makes sense.
Yep.
We've put together such a good regular season. The guys still see an opportunity in front of them. And to be completely honest, we still have good health on this team. We have enough playmakers to go down to L.A. And outclass these guys. Now, it is going to be essentially an away game for us. I do think Vikings fans will travel fairly well to L.A. After what we saw down there. But, this is a roster that's got young talent. It's got old talent. It's a good roster, to be blatantly honest, and they love to pound the rock with Kyren Williams. I think the biggest thing is if we can stuff that run early, Matt, and force them to start pressing through the air, forcing the ball downfield into Nakua Cup, I think that's when we can start to get some turnovers on Matthew Stafford. But if they're able to come out and, get 4 or 5 a pop with Kyren Williams out of the gate, that's when things start to worry me a little bit. And I think that we could get beat in time of possession because they'll give 25 plus carries to Kyren Williams.
Yeah, time of possession is going to be a big thing as well. You had kind of mentioned Vikings fans traveling for this. I do expect to see a good contingent of purple and gold in Los Angeles. And to be honest, if I had to pick a place to play first round on the road, I'd probably pick LA just due to them not having the biggest home field advantage, I would say. Don't get me wrong, they've got some passionate fans, but between a team like Philly obviously is in there. You've got the Bucks. There's a lot of teams that I would much rather not play. So to me, I think LA in terms of atmosphere might have been the best result for us, which is good.
That's true, but I mean, call me crazy, but were they pumping crowd noise in that place?
I've been saying that.
I think they were.
They kept doing this whose house, Rams house. It sounded so fake.
Yeah, it sounded
fake.
Fabricated. Me and Matt were there, heard it with our own ears.
It's going to be our house on Monday night.
Yeah, we might have put a few back before we were hearing that, but there was something. There was something to be said about the crowd noise in there. It did not seem totally authentic to us, so I wonder how that'll play. But nonetheless, it's not going to be as loud as Ford Field was last night. Sam Darnold, opportunity to respond, Matt. What needs to be cleaned up in this game? Is it just a nerves issue, or do you think do you see something bigger in maybe the mechanics, the confidence, or does Sam just have a chance to go home to LA and light him up?
A lot of it's going to be his footwork. He had happy feet last night and wasn't really trusting his feet with what he was seeing. He almost seemed like he was trying to look around too much at what was going on, and then by the time he got back to what he was looking at, it was too late, and then all of a sudden you see him trying to pivot and make kind of a off-script play. So to me, it's about getting back to the basics. You saw so much success when he kind of stuck to that 3-step drop, 6-step drop, and kind of timing his throws with his feet. And last night, I didn't see that as much with him, and I think that attributed to some of those passes being overthrown is he was kind of just relying on his arm more than, pairing that arm with his feet. So to me, it's tying your eyes, your feet, and the arm all together and getting back into that rhythm that he had because he can make all the throws. It's just about trusting what he's seen and then distributing the ball where it needs to be. So to me, it's going to be about more of the technique side of things and then really just getting back into that rhythm because we've seen it. He can make the plays, but you've got to trust what you're seeing and then let your skills take over from there.
Yeah, I think if he hits a couple big throws early, he's going to get his swagger back early in this one. And, he's got implications going back to his, home area, Southern California. He's going to want to go get the W in front of a lot of family members on the road. Let's talk a little bit more about the Rams, specifically their defense. I think it's a secondary that's beatable. I like our chances to get Jefferson and Addison going. I was really displeased by the lack of, Addison touches last night. For as big as he's been on this team for us, it's really inexcusable to not give him touches, especially in the red zone when he was open multiple times. I just think it's got to be reiterated to Sam Darnold, hey, let's get the ball in the hands of our playmakers quickly and let them do what they do after the catch, and that's going to be pivotal for us in this game. Now, McVay versus Kevin O'Connell, Matt. Very interesting here. Obviously, they run a lot of the same concepts. These offenses are very similar in the way that they run them. Going to be interesting if Kevin O'Connell pulls out some trick plays. We've seen quite a few. Justin Jefferson throwing the ball in the past, maybe a halfback pass, some kind of reverse. Do you expect Kevin to kind of start rolling the dice here a little bit and pull some things out of his sleeve?
I mean, I expect to see some creativity. Now, do I really want to see a double pass that Justin Jefferson has to, go make a play with his arm? Probably not. So
he can zip it, though.
Unless we're dealing with the lead, I don't really want to see that big of a creative play. But don't get me wrong. I thought something that I wanted to test out in the red zone last night was, why are we not trying to jet sweep to Addison or Jefferson, trying to get out on the edges a little bit more?
Agreed.
So often in the run game in the red zone, we were trying to stuff it up the middle, and we know how effective that can be. And the reality is that it's been ineffective. So to me, I thought we should have done a better job using kind of the outside edges and getting guys out in space. So I expect to see a little bit more of that. The biggest area on defense for the Rams that I'm looking at is that defensive line. I mentioned it earlier. They've got 4 young guys that just get after the quarterback. This offensive line, coming off a rough performance in Detroit, is going to have to find a way to really, anchor down and lock these guys up, because I talk about Sam's feet, but if he doesn't have the time to throw, that supersedes his technique, his feet, his footwork, all that stuff. If he doesn't have enough time, he's going to be jittery, moving around, not having enough time to see what's going on. So to me, it starts up front with these guys. They've got to lock down that defensive line of the Rams and really stand on business and, put their stamp on the game. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest parts of this, is how well that they could control that D-line.
Yeah, this is a big week for Chris Cooper and his unit to put a game plan together. It's going to be pivotal that our offensive line can hold up in this one for sure. Got to be playing as a true unit. Back to the inside the 10 play calling. I thought you got a good point there. Jet sweeps, creativity. I don't want to pick plays from the world champion Chiefs, but you see some of the stuff they do in the red zone. Shovel passes, using their tight ends a little bit. We motioned CJ Ham. So when was the last time CJ Ham took a handoff, Matt?
I know.
When was the last time? This guy can run the ball.
Yeah.
This guy can run the ball. We've obviously seen what he can do in the past. He's playing running back a couple snaps for us last year. What happened to giving CJ Ham, or at least faking a jet sweep to him? Give him a jet sweep. Give him a fullback dive. Like, let's get the ball instead of just straight drop back passing, going 4 wide, 5 wide on the goal line. I don't necessarily love it at all. And I think there's things we can do, and I think there's things we will see changed in those situations moving forward. But, just kind of disheartening to see. You can remember back to last year, motioning Justin Jefferson into the backfield, getting him manned up on a linebacker, and then all of a sudden you got options on a choice route of what he can run. I just thought we were very vanilla in the red zone. We had opportunities. Obviously, the balls were marginally out of reach for our receivers, but that's going to be how we win this playoff game, is red zone efficiency, because we set a record for red zone inefficiency last night. But overall, I think we're going to move into our picks of the week, Matt. What do you think? I think it's time that we get the fans something to go off of here, give them a little bit of hope to make a little cash this weekend.
All right, let's get us going with the Vikings play of the week, presented by Stoli Vodka. Discover the taste of excellence, the original premium vodka, crafted with a perfect blend of modern distilling techniques and century-old traditions. Stoli delivers a bold, smooth spirit that stands above the rest. Whether you're enjoying it neat, on the rocks, or in your favorite cocktail, Stoli brings an unparalleled quality to every sip. For those who appreciate the finer things in life, Stoli Vodka is your choice for timeless sophistication. Taste the tradition, savor the boldness, choose Stoli Vodka.
Love it.
All right. Now let's get into it here. I'm going to get us going. I think that this Vikings defense, they found a way to get a turnover in every regular season game this year. I think that streak continues into the playoffs, and I expect Matt Stafford to throw an interception. So I'm taking Matt Stafford over a half INTs.
I love that. I think it's a good opportunity. We have guys on this team that are known to take the ball away. I think Matt Stafford's going to run into a little bit of pressure and turn the ball over, just as you said. My pick of the week, Justin Jefferson, 2+ touchdowns, and I'll say why. In playoff games like this, you lean on your best players. You find ways to get the ball to your best players. I think Justin Jefferson, after feeling that frustration last night in Detroit, only catching 3 balls, 54 yards, Justin Jefferson's going to come out in a big way in LA, and I'm calling it right now. You take your best players to will you to a victory in games like this. Justin Jefferson's getting back on track this week in a big way. Expect him to light it up in Los Angeles. And we've got a special producer pick from Chris, a.k.a. Sally.
Yes,
Sally, what do you
sir.
got this week?
Yeah, boys. This week I'm going to take the money line. Vikings have covered 17 of the last 20 games on the money line. The money line right now sits at like plus 125, or let me see, minus 125.
Yep.
Minus 125.
So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to also take the under. I'm going to take the under on this. The line being at 1.5, I just think it's gonna. I don't want to say it's going to be close, but I think we're going to take it to them. But I think we're going to stay under that 45 line.
Okay, I like that a lot. I actually agree with that as well. I've got, I'll get into my score prediction here, Matt. I've got 23-17 Vikings over the Rams. I do think this is going to be close. I think that this game gets off to an early offensive explosion, and then kind of tapers off as teams make adjustments. The playoffs are such a critical time to have your coaching staff locked in and start to try different things, make different adjustments when other teams start fast on you. So I've got 23-17 Vikings moving back to probably Detroit the next round, and then we get another crack at them. I think that this team is motivated. Like I said, we didn't come this far just to come this far. I've got Vikings winning.
Okay, nice. Well, you know me, I'm gonna have to keep riding with my Vikings. This ain't gonna be the time that I pick us to lose in the playoffs. So it's ride or die, and we stay riding. I'm gonna go here. I think Chris is spot on. I think this could be a lower scoring game with that tight spread there. I love the money line pick. Just keep it nice and simple there. I'm gonna go with a final score of Vikings 24, Rams 20. I think we're gonna see a couple touchdowns, hopefully from Justin Jefferson. I think Reichard nails a field goal for us, and I think we find a way to hold off that Rams offense and leave LA victorious, hopefully going into Detroit or Philly. I don't care who it is, but we just got to get to the next one. But take care of business at hand first, and I think I feel good about our chances. You answered the question. You said 7 out of 10. I'm going to say 8 out of 10. I feel good. I think this team has bounced back all year. They're going to find another way to do it on the road in LA. KOC, kind of not a revenge game, but sort of. Going up against his, guy that he won a Super Bowl with Sean McVay. So time for him to kind of show him that it's his time, that he can kind of one-up him, and I think we're going to see a great game plan from Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, we're going to need to get Sean McVay on some stilts looking up to Kevin O'Connell this week. He's going to become the big brother this week. Sour taste in his mouth probably after a loss in LA earlier this season. I think that this roster, being as healthy as it is this time in the year, looks like we're going to get Fabian Moreau back. That was really our only guy that was out last week. If this team can't go toe-to-toe and win this ball game against the LA Rams, then we don't deserve to be in this situation. So it's time for these guys to put it on the line. This is their livelihood. This is what it's all about, is the postseason. And all it takes is opportunity. And guess what? We got one. It's not every year that we're in the playoffs. We've sat in these chairs right here and had to talk about off-season for this episode. And I'll tell you that really sucks. So when we have a postseason chance like this, I think these guys are going to take advantage of it. This is a special group. It just doesn't feel like it's ready for off-season talks and this season to end quite yet.
You got that right. You know what they say. It starts with one. We had a long winning streak going. Now it's time to reset that. Go on a little mini one here in the playoffs, and it starts in Los Angeles against the Rams. We got to really set the tone here. This team is too good to go out first round. I think that we've got more left to unfold here for this story, and I think the Vikings are going to hopefully bounce back and show us what they're really made of.
Yep, and you remember 2021, LA Rams, also a wild card, lost their division, made it all the way to the Super Bowl. We've got that same mojo with Kevin O'Connell. This is our time. What can I say? Opportunities right there for us. Let's go and take advantage of it, Matt. Stay locked in with us. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We're putting out all kinds of good content analysis for you guys. I just want you to stay positive. Don't fall into that classic Vikings mindset. Don't be afraid to have hope. Don't be the I told you so guy. Don't be the guy who says, I can't believe I believed in this team again. We can't carry that mindset around anymore. This is a new regime. This is a new football team. And this is a team that we believe is built to win. And they've put that product on the field for 14 games this season. Let's make it 15. Skol Vikings.
Skol.
You're listening to the Vikes Verified podcast.